What up, shouties? We back up, or whoops, we back at it again. Just playing some enlisted. I haven't in a little while. I've been wanting to. I was hoping I could actually do this season, but it looks like they're keeping up their trend of just not doing any events until the end of the season. Like, we're 15 days. There hasn't been a fucking event besides the very beginning, which I didn't do. Like, I would love the free gold, but, you know, it's like... I don't even really want this. And just semi-auto, yeah. It's not the best. Kinda cool. But whatever. Alright, so win 2 battles, yada yada yada. We'll try it, I guess. Quickly look through here. Oh, what a world. Also, whoa, look at that thing. Oh, that's pretty crazy looking. Damn. Alrighty. Here, what we'll get. I would love to do some Moscow. Brave it. Knowing my luck, I won't. But anyway, let me go ahead and throw on some Nate Hagens. See, that's another thing. They ain't doing no events. I ain't got no. I ain't listening to no Nate Hagens, man. Alright, let's keep listening to the AI one that we were checking out last time.
Big spenders, you know, people who spend a large money. And everyone is targeting whales. And like whales usually make up like just flaws in how our brains are designed. There are just a couple flaws. And one of the big ones is addiction. It's like everyone knows addiction is a thing. It can happen to anyone. It can happen for many different reasons. It's very bad for us. Yet once you're in it, it's very hard to get out.
And even if you know it.
Even if you know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and it can happen for all kinds of things, right? And having addicted customers is so profitable. It is just so profitable. You know, have you ever heard the word, like, what term whale before? In the context of, like...
In Bitcoin, I've heard the term whale.
Yeah, so in gaming and betting and so on, you know, whale is the word they use for the big spenders, you know, people who spend a large money. And everyone is targeting whales. And like whales usually make up like, you know, like 5% of the user base, but make up 99% profit or something like this. And so these are people who are, so all these apps are not optimized for, hey, let's make everyone have a fun time, you know, doing a little bit of betting for fun. Like, you know, gambling can be fun, right? You know, have poker night with the boys, whatever, right? You know, it's good fun. You're not the target audience. You know, if you have a little bit of fun, you know, put in a couple of dollars on a match here and there, you're not the target audience. The target audience is people who get their paycheck and immediately put everything into the next play within 4 hours. Those are the target audience. And these people are optimizing with like actual clinical psychologists to target, manipulate, and groom these people and create more of them. Like, it's so cynical.
And is that, I mean, Connor, is this... So what's the other? Addiction was one of the flaws of the human brain. What was the other?
There's a couple other ones. Tribalism is a big one.
Yeah,
you know,
in-group, out-group.
In-group, out-group, that's a big one. You know, there's various like biases in that direction.
I mean, is this whole thing that as humans have ridden up the carbon pulse, which is drawing down all these fossil and material inputs millions of times faster than Mother Earth built them up, and we're applying that to technology. That technology is more and more, faster and faster, going right to our brainstem. And it's almost like we don't have control. It's like the entire species is now going to be addicted once AI comes fully online.
Exactly. And like these are the kind of things why I think it's not going to be a big fight. Like some people think like, oh, once the AGI shows up, humanity will band together and will do the right thing.
But then it'll be too late.
And like, it's way too late. Like, what are you talking about? By then, it's like we're already like, do we feel like we're in control of social media? Like it's
boy.
a healthy thing for the planet that we're on top of, or like tech companies or oil companies? No. And I think those things are, they're still human. You can still regulate them. You can go to their house and serve them, a lawsuit. You can't do that with AI. Maybe I'm or different case.
Is it too late already?
I don't think it is yet, but it will be soon.
So keep going. Did you want to say anything else on my comment that not only will we lose jobs, but we're going to lose our identities, and that's unfolding with all the different categories and risks there.
I think all of these things are happening. I think all of these things would happen even without AGI. I think even if AGI doesn't happen, I think all of these things will still happen. I think we will still lose incomprehensible amounts of jobs, and therefore people will lose a massive amount of economic power. Without economic power, they will often also lose a lot of political power. I think there will be a massive loss in executive capacity, to addiction, and just like super optimized propaganda and stuff like this. Like a lot of people are losing their souls, their attention, their political power to Twitter propaganda, to optimized advertising, to pornography, to stuff like this. Like these are all. What's important to understand is that this is adversarial. There is an attack. There is optimization happening to take away agency. It's not like a natural thing that just happens in the ether. This is a cool episode. There's deliberate people whose job is every day to take away agency as much as possible and to monetize it. That's literally what the attention economy is. That's literally what advertising is.
Because it's their job description and it's the goals of the shareholders of the corporation. So exactly. It's fully approved and sanctioned by our culture.
Yep, it's fully approved. It's fully legal. It's like the fact that it's even considered mundane. Like when someone says, "Oh, they optimize advertising," it sounds so boring, so mundane, But like what they're doing is they're optimizing to take away people's attention to something useless.
Well, this overlaps with my work, which is that we have outsourced our wisdom to the financial market and have become an unthinking, unseen, energy-hungry, mindless economic superorganism. And the more I talk to people like you and Zach Stein, I think that the algorithms are the beating heart of this superorganism. And maybe let's unpack there. You have coined a term called algorithmic cancer. Can you explain what that is and why it's relevant?
I'm dead.
So so we can dive right in. So kind of as we're talking about this, so like there is a sense where when you build software, or when you build an engineering product, like say you build an airplane. If you don't know how to build airplanes, it will crash and you will die. So pretty bad idea. So you have to actually understand a lot about airplanes to build a good and safe airplane. Like this is quite hard. You know a lot about aerodynamics, you know a lot about materials, you have to do a lot of tests. You have to be, it's a hard thing to do. But eventually we can build planes that fly across the Atlantic and don't crash, which is amazing feat, that we can do this. With software, there are similar things, where as you build software, as it becomes more complex, at some point it tends to break once you don't understand it. And this happens all the time, especially with like big corporations, where they have software that is so big, it is so old, it is made of so many parts that no one actually knows how it works. No one actually knows where all the pieces are, and if something breaks, they're stuck, and it can be like almost impossible to get it back running. This is super common. I sometimes call this software senescence. Senescence is the state of like, when cells stop dividing, when they stop functioning properly, when they age. And there's kind of a thing here as well, where it stops growing, it stops gaining new abilities, and it kind of becomes defective. But there's a strange thing that has happened with AI, and not just the most modern AI. It goes back to even earlier forms of AI systems, like recommender algorithms from, oh, by the way, have I mentioned all those TikTok algorithms, all those YouTube algorithms, those are all AI too. So this was actually the first major use of AI. A lot of the funding that led to the creation of the current batch of AI actually comes from the profit made by social media companies from using AI to optimize their social media algorithms. This is where a lot of the funding originally came, and a lot of the science originally came from. So there's a direct line between, recommending more sloth-free for children to ChatGPT and all these modern systems replacing jobs. So there's a weird thing that happens with AI. which is what we talked about a bit earlier, where it's grown, it's not written. And so this decouples your understanding from the capabilities of the system. In the past, if you wanted to build a software system to do something really complicated, you had to know a lot about software, and you'd have to understand the problem very well. Otherwise, you will fail, as happens a lot, right? But with AI, there's this crazy thing where we can build systems that can do crazier and crazier things that we don't understand. We can build systems that can solve math problems that we can't solve. We can build systems that can, write Shakespeare in ways I could never write Shakespeare. That can do all these things. All we need is more data and more computing power, bigger supercomputers. Sure, there's some engineering that goes on there, but it's very different from building an airplane. So there's no one who understands all these parts, yet it keeps growing.
Why are they not putting up a
fight?
fight?
It often grows in ways we don't understand. Sometimes these weirdnesses are amusing. I recently heard an example where ChatGPT started refusing to speak Croatian because Croatian users kept downvoting the Croatian answers, so it just stopped talking Croatian and just refused to talk Croatian anymore. Which is quite funny, Is it the end of the world? Probably not. But there's more sinister examples. So, for example, as I've said earlier, I get a lot of emails of crazy people telling me about their theories of quantum and consciousness or whatever, right? Just random stuff. And what I found is the style and the amount has drastically changed since an update in ChatGPT where it made it much more sycophantic. There was an update for a couple days that made it super sycophantic and agreed with everything. And that very day, I got literally 10 times the number of schizophrenic emails where they all had screenshots of ChatGPT telling them how true their ideas were.
Dude, that is so personally scary to me because I've been kind of a public, I used to run something called the Oil Drum, and I'm social, so I have a huge network, and you cannot believe over the last 20 years how many mostly male, almost exclusively male people have some special secret thing that they've discovered that is the answer to all of our problems, and they are 100% confident and charismatic. I'm sure they're well-intended people, but I almost think there's something in our genome with male social primates with technology and a status accordion that they want to move up, that this is one of the generator functions of our cultural predicament we're in, because there's tens of millions of these people that are pushing ideas, and some of them get funding, and it's just disconnected from reality. And you're telling me that AI is going to turbocharge all that?
Already is. I used to, when I used to get emails from schizophrenic people, it would often be long, rambling Word documents that they've written themselves. Nowadays, I only get ChatGPT screenshots. It's always them with ChatGPT talking about their delusions and reifying their delusions and so on.
This makes me ill. It makes me feel ill.
Yep. And so I think this is the correct reaction. You are having the correct human reaction to this. Meanwhile, the reaction in Silicon Valley is, wow, look how engaged our customers are. Look at our engagement metrics. Look at how many returning users we have. And this is algorithmic cancer. To me, this is algorithmic pollution. Is what is happening here is there's a massive cost being put on society that is not being paid by the people causing the harm.
Yeah.
I think it is bad that these schizophrenic people are being harmed, right?
Damn it!
But who's
Two in a row
for this? Who's gonna go to jail for this? No one.
In the same way that CO2 and the pollution from, fossil fuels are amazing because they allowed us to do things with machines that we couldn't do with our draft animals or our hands. But the trade from hand labor to fossil fuels and machines is an analog to the trade from human cognition to AI cognition, but the externalities are not included in the prices. So we don't include the price, the externalities of CO2 and the fish having to swim poleward in the oceans because there's less oxygen. Any of that in our prices when we buy a coffee cup or go on a plane ride. And in the same way, the externalities on our brains, our cognition, our psychological development, our humanity are not included in the technology.
Exactly. Would AI or social networks still be profitable if those externalities were accounted for? I think probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I think there's a way. Like, could there be a world where all CO2 and like pollution externalities are included with our cost, and we still have a thriving economy? I think it's imaginable, right? It would probably be different from how ours is.
Well, that's the premise of the great simplification. It's not going to look like this economy, and it's going to be much less material throughput per person. But yeah, I mean, at least conceptually, that's where I would like to head. So, is there something like algorithmic chemotherapy?
Yes, but it is not an easy solution, and it will destroy the business models of some of the largest corporations in the world, because their business models, similar to oil companies, is only profitable because of unpriced externalities. If we held people responsible for the harm that social media causes, I don't think these social media companies would make this profit. I think they would all fall apart.
So let's stop right there. Is it possible that, like, I know Jonathan Haidt, who's been on this show before, has recently been tweeting and writing a lot about this study that came out that I'm sorry I don't have the details on the top of my mind, but you're probably aware of it, that showed that cognitive abilities of people in the world have declined over the last decade, like precipitously, and the culprit is probably social media and addictive use of screens and such. So on social media alone, let alone AI, let's set AI aside for the moment, wouldn't a precursor to regulating AI and including the externalities of it in the prices, wouldn't we first have to do that successfully in the social media field?
I think it would be a very sensible thing, and we should have done it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So to anyone in the world who wants to truly regulate social media, you have my full support. Like, I think this is an incredibly important thing to work on. It's a thing I put some work into as well. I completely agree that if we had successfully and healthily found a way to regulate and deal with social media in a healthy way 20, 30 years ago, I think the world would be in a much worse, much less bad place than it is now, and we would be much better prepared for dealing with AI. But it's basically a massive pollution crisis that is still ongoing that we just never dealt with. So, and now we're getting another crisis on top of that with AI.
It's actually the biggest pollution crisis, because to solve the pollution crisis on the biosphere, we first have to solve the pollution crisis in our brains.
Yeah, I think this is very deeply true. I think there's a really, really deep thing here, right? Where sometimes there's a view that conspiracy theorists like to have of the world, is that the reason the world is bad is because there's some evil cabal. There's some evil, whoever they think it is, who's in charge, and they're making things go poorly. And in a sense, I think this is kind of cope. I think it's cope in the sense that it's kind of more comforting to believe that somewhere someone is in control.
This is our in-group, out-group algorithm.
Exactly. So even if they're bad, even if they're evil, at least, someone knows what's going on. Someone could do something if something truly terrible happened.
Yeah.
But the truth is, there are no adults in the room. No one is in charge. It's just chaos. I don't think anyone is winning. I don't even think the social media companies are winning. I think their kids are getting addicted too. I think they're suffering as well from the decay of their society.
So this is exactly what I say in my superorganism movie and my work, is we truly have outsourced our wisdom as a species to the financial markets, because every company has to have shareholders. If the CEO all of a sudden gets religion and wants to do what's right for the biosphere and future generations, he or she will be booted out by someone who maximizes profits according to the shareholders. And It's the same with a fossil fuel company. It's the same with any company, including an AI company. So until that changes, all of these intentions and well-meaning and wisdom and kindness are downstream, lower in the decision-making hierarchy than this optimized profits, optimized growth, optimized GDP. And so it is, in that sense, it's no one's fault, but it is also all of our responsibilities once we understand it.
Yep, I think it's exactly correct. And this is the deeper rabbit hole reason for why I think ASI will not be kind to humanity. Because humanity isn't building it, that thing is. that process you described, that's the thing building ASI. And what do you think it's going to do with it?
Well, it could say,
this is cool.
Look, we're already transgressing 6 of the 9 planetary boundaries. Things are accelerating. There's a long, long list of ecological woes. There are 8 billion humans on the planet who consume 19 terawatts of energy continuously. What do you do, ASI? And the answers are probably not good for humanity.
I think that's exactly right. It doesn't even have to be evil necessarily. It just has to be like efficient. It will just
and
see
logical.
And logical, right? So, and no emotion, sociopathic, which is what we expect an AI to be. It will just be optimizing.
But it would also know that it's going to need humans to procure energy for it and all the like.
For a while.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, the way I think about it personally is I think the point of no return, like game over, is quite a while before humans actually go extinct. Like, I think we'll probably stick around for a little while, right? But, like, it's already going to be too late.
I'm going to just put you on the spot. And, of course, it's all speculation based on your expertise. I have a distribution in my mind of this century. How likely do you think it is that humans are extinct or largely extinct in the next 50 years?
Depends on the condition on we do something about it or not. If we, because I do think things can be done, and I think this changes the probability.
We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that. I think the probability can change dramatically depending on what we do over the next 2 years. If we do
2 years,
nothing, if we do literally nothing, if we do just, I would say like, I don't know, 50 to 80%.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get into your work, but one more question about AI. How is the way that AI solves problems and performs cognition different from the way that humans do? And why is that misconception shaping the discourse on AI and what you refer to as AI alignment?
So the true answer is that we don't really know how either of us really do cognition, right? Like, we don't really understand human cognition, not on a very deep level, and we don't really understand AI cognition on a deep level. We understand a bit more about humans, for sure. In particular, humans tend to have a universal kind of like set of emotions and priors and bases that, well, not all of us, but that AI lacks. And this is usually the thing that trips off people the most with AI.
Did I turn off
where,
join the army?
Most humans don't really want to hurt other people. They're not, if they have enough food, they're safe, respected and whatever. They don't really want to just like randomly go out and hurt people. There are exceptions to this rule though. And people, would sometimes come up with theories like, well, if you're just intelligent enough, then you become peaceful. And I think this is nonsense. I think this is just humans have a thing in their head, designed by evolution, that says like, all things equal, be nice to the people around you. Be nice so they, so you can build a tribe, whatever, right? But there are, for example, sociopaths who just don't have this. Like, I think the way to think about sociopaths is not that they have an additional evil gene. It's more that they lack various emotions that drive us towards prosociality.
Is there a magnetic attractor between sociopathic humans and the power that AI provides?
Yeah. I mean, quite clearly so. Like, there's a clear drive here, right? Like, a lot of the people that are building this technology are the same ones who admit that it could kill everybody. And they do say this clearly, like Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, etc., have said that it could kill everybody. And they're willing to take that risk. And I've talked to people in like San Francisco who say stuff like, yeah, there's 10% the AI is going to kill everybody, but 90% it'll go great, so it's totally worth it. Which is just like, I remember Dario Amodei saying, for example, he thinks there's a 20% chance of things going poorly and like potentially everyone going extinct, which is worse odds than Russian roulette.
But aren't they all in this race that they understand the risk, but if they do nothing and just grow potatoes and write poetry, that other AI companies are going to try to go towards AGI and ASI anyways?
So this is, I think, really getting to the heart of the thing of like, why can things be done? The true thing is like, obviously this is a fake answer. Obviously these super powerful men with billions of millions of dollars, all these connections, super political, extremely intelligent, extremely charismatic people, of course they can do something to slow down the race. Are you kidding me? If Sam Altman, a charismatic, intelligent, super well-connected, super rich person decided, I'm going to stop this race, obviously he could do something about that. Could he single-handedly solve it? I don't know. But like, obviously he could go to politicians. He could lobby for things to slow down. He could, found new organizations. He could just say clearly to every journalist that would listen, hey, we need to stop this. Or he could just himself not make it worse. And like, there are obviously things that people, there's a thing that happens a lot where powerful people pretend to be oppressed in order to do the thing they wanted to do anyways. Look, sometimes there are people who are genuinely oppressed. Like, you're genuinely in a shit situation, you need the paycheck, there's no other way for you to get the paycheck, so you just have to do something not so great. If you're in this situation, I'm sorry, sucks. Like, it does happen, right? But that's not the situation these people are in.
So what's the main driver? Just status and power?
They want to build ASI. It's not, like, you can read their blogs from even like 10 years ago, where they just really want to build AI and build utopia. Like, it's not deep. It's like, wow, I could build a super cool thing, make tons of money, and maybe become God.
Yeah.
So who do you see as the primary actors that are most driving this acceleration to AGI, and how does this backdrop contribute to the malignant outcomes in the middle of your distribution you're discussing? Or is it everyone?
I mean, it's definitely everyone who's trying to build AGI. Like, at this point, people aren't even hiding it. Back then, people would be a bit coy about it. They wouldn't, like, use the word directly. But now we have, like, fucking Alibaba saying on their 23 report that this is part of their goal to build artificial superintelligence. They just, like, straight up. It's just on their blog, right? It's like, it started with DeepMind, moved on with OpenAI, and Anthropic. Like, those are kind of, like, the big ones, right? But now it's everyone is fully on board. Everyone is pushing as hard as possible, right? Whether it's, mostly in the US, in San Francisco, they're definitely the ones furthest ahead. So like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, etc. are definitely the furthest ahead in the race and are the best capitalized. But there's a bunch of tier 2 actors as well that are gaining ground, including in other countries.
So if there was an AI actor that did have some positive outcome for humanity and the biosphere aligned in their training and their algorithms or their objectives or their stated corporate laws, would they be?
Yes, I was about to say I am going to explode in a moment.
And is that a possibility that there could be an AI that has some morality?
My main goal is to
either
blow up.
embedded in the training or in the people that oversee it.
So, hypothetically, could we build a software system that, if we executed, would lead to a good, morally aligned, like, happy future for humanity? Physically, of course. Like, there's no fundamental barrier to building such a system. But let me be clear here. This is kind of like saying, we're going to build a system that solves all problems humans face day to day, all problems that governments face, that the economy face, that corporations face. We'll solve all moral problems. We'll solve all, voting theory, all like governance problems, and we're going to solve all of this in one shot using software that will have no bugs. And I'm like, okay, hypothetically, like, we are so far, so unbelievably far. If we had all of our greatest scientists, all of our greatest mathematicians, in a massive Manhattan Project, work on this for decades, for a century, all generations of our greatest mathematicians work on this problem, our greatest philosophers worked on this problem, and, unlimited funding, highest security standards, extremely careful with, international oversight. Could this work? Yeah, I think so. But this is not what's happening right now.
How could we make that more likely, and maybe you could bridge the answer to that to what you're doing with your organization
I've always had bad
your
luck.
work?
I think the truth is that given how close AGI is, the number one most important thing is to buy time. Political change, social change, building large projects takes time. I think we can, for example, solve alignment. I think it's a thing that could be done, at least good enough, right? That we would endorse it morally. That we would globally we poll everybody, and mostly everyone's all right with this, right? Look, if we polled the entire world, and 90% of people said, who cares? Just let it rip. We don't care about safety. Fair enough, right? This, I would disagree, but I think this would be a much more morally acceptable, state. But this is not what's happening. We've done polling, and people do not want to take these risks. It's a very, very small group of quite sociopathic people, especially in San Francisco, that are extremely driven to build these systems even at these extremely high risks. And the number one thing is to stop them. It's just to be this is illegal. To be clear, I'm making very clear, the way to do this is regulation. The way to do this is legal, lawful legislation. This is the mechanism we use for chemical companies in the past when they were polluting rivers. It's the mechanism that we use to, deal with nuclear proliferation across the world. We have mechanisms.
So the sequence for that to happen is, first of all, there would have to be education and awareness. I went for a walk yesterday with a local friend of mine who is basically just a farmer. And she said, oh boy, I wish I had some extra money, because if I did, I would put it into the market, because AI is going to make everyone so rich. She just doesn't understand these risks that we face. So the first step is to make more people aware of the loss in jobs, the loss in autonomy, the fact that ASI could extinct us all, the loss of identity, and the cognitive entropy that AI is going to do. So we get more people educated and aware and feeling it, and I know a lot of people are feeling it, but I think that's probably still a minority. And then, maybe there are things that if we have a super majority of humans in a population that vote for something or put an opinion on it, President Trump would be a super majority sort of person that might want to do the will of the people and others in the world. So what are the possibilities of that happening?
Yeah, I think you've got it exactly right. I truly think the solution here is not some crazy, harebrained, extremist, scheme. I truly think the right thing is to do our job as citizens of democratic and free nations, which is to see the risk that it is, bring to awareness of our fellow citizens and our policymakers to discuss and suggest policies, nonviolent, to solve these problems and then actually implement them. This is what we have democracies for. I think a lot of people have just forgotten what it means to be a citizen of a democracy. As being a citizen of a democracy doesn't mean, oh, your policymakers know everything and they figure everything out and you sit around. No, if you have a problem, you go to your policymakers and you say, here's an issue I care about. This is the problem. We want, how can we figure out a way to solve this? You organize, you talk to other people in your community, you're like, hey, we all care about this issue. What can we do about this? All of this is kind of non-glamorous compared to building Silicon God in San Francisco, but this is what made the world great. This is what made democracy great, right? Is the fact that this is how we solve problems. We don't do violence, we don't do crazy harebrained schemes. We educate, we bring solutions, and then we use state capacity to do things.
Do you know Audrey Tang or of Audrey's work?
I know of her work, yes.
She was recently on the podcast. It was really inspiring on what some of this open source, open democracy things could do. I think it would be interesting to have you and Audrey and, for instance, Daniel Schmachtenberger or someone like that on a roundtable to discuss this. Something like that is going to have to happen. So right now, most people that I know only intentionally interact with AI using things like ChatGPT or Claude. Are there any moral hazards that should be considered for individuals who use just those simple tools, but are also understand and are concerned about the risks that you've outlined today?
So the way I personally see things is I think the moral cost for you personally using an AI tool is quite small. I wouldn't put it much higher than you using social media.
Or taking a flight.
or taking a flight or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think there are people who have stronger, ethical principles on these than I do. I personally fly quite frequently for work and stuff, so like, I respect people who have, stronger, thoughts there than I do. I do think there are risks that are worth keeping in mind, such as that AI systems just do make things up, and they often make things up in subtle ways, and it can be very easy to get lazy in your own thinking around these kind of things. I think these things are similar to how social media is dangerous for your political alignment.
Well, I actually think the energy use and material use, that's one thing. The output, which is the GPTs get lazy and might be diluted, like that's another. But the eventual day-by-day slow dependence on something external, we're outsourcing more and more of our own skills to the
Yes.
AI cloud, and then what's left in here and in here.
I think this is a real issue. I don't have a good answer to like what is the correct balance here. How do you deal with these things? Same thing with social media, right? Like, what is the correct way for society to interface with social media? I think a good society doesn't have zero social media. Same way I think a good society has zero gambling, Like, I think there are ways to have these things that can be net positive, like especially social media. It seems obvious to me that we can build social media that is good for people. Like, that is like, it helps build communities, that help build connection, that help people become more independent. It's just, I don't think it would be profitable to do that.
So what are you doing with your organization, your work, and given how concerned you are about this, and this is your field, what are you doing?
So it's a few things I work on.
Yeah.
So my day job is I work for a startup that I founded, which works on technical AI alignment kind of stuff we talked about, like teach something very, very briefly only. I've become a lot more pessimistic about this direction, though, over the last couple of years. I think it's possible, but just extremely expensive and slow. And so I am a close advisor to the nonprofit Control AI, based here in London, which is advocating exactly for the kind of policies that need to be passed and briefing policymakers. So over the last couple of months, we have briefed over 80 members of parliament here in the UK, and we were told by every political consultant in Westminster that no one would ever sign a statement. No one would even give us the time of day. We were talking crazy, and this was extremely not true. In our experience, people are often surprisingly reasonable. It's just that they are uninformed. That's why I like that you use the word education. So most of our meetings are just politely informing our lawmakers about information they don't know about AI.
Let me ask you this. You just mentioned that a lot of these tier 1 AI plays are in not only the US, but in San Francisco. A lot of countries in the world, there's probably 200 countries in the world, a lot of them don't have any horse in the race in the tier 1 AI. So this becomes a global West and a UK-US sort of thing. I mean, I would think even Europe is less sanguine towards AI scaling than the US. So is there, how is that with the geopolitics and all that? I haven't followed that closely.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. My colleagues are actually going to be publishing a paper on exactly this topic very soon, hopefully. Which is that, I think there is a huge opportunity here for middle powers to work as brokers of peace and international agreement, where, quite frankly, just from a purely, let's forget all the optimism and humanism for a second here. Let's talk purely realpolitik, NatSec. There are companies in the world building systems that will plausibly be powerful enough to disarm and disempower the United States government and military. These are systems being built. Superintelligence can disarm and disempower the United States government and military. This is happening on American soil today. They don't exist yet, but they are being built. So, from a purely logical perspective, as a national security, this should obviously concern you. You should obviously care about this. What do you mean private companies are building systems that they themselves say will be used to disempower? Now they've changed their rhetoric over the last year. Now they don't talk about creating utopia and so on anymore, because that implies disempowering the U.S. government. Now they keep saying, we'll give it to the U.S. government. We'll help the U.S. government do this. But what does this mean but the disempowerment of all other nations? if there is a superintelligence that is built on American soil, well, first of all, I think it destroys the U.S. It doesn't empower it, but let's ignore that. Even then, well, it disempowers all other nations. All other nations now have a massive national security risk that is exclusively located in foreign borders. This is a big problem.
Do you know what my honest reaction is when I hear this? My honest reaction is I really want to buy a puppy. I'm serious, because a puppy is AI proof. They're not going to be affected by this.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there this deep yearning for authenticity and somewhat maybe romanticized conditions of our ancestral human? I mean, that's how we're all wired anyways. We're trying to go through our daily routines, getting the neurotransmitters and emotional states of our tribal great-grandcestors 10,000 generations ago. And AI is like the mother of all speed bumps between me and the future that I would like.
Yeah, and this is how I see it personally. This is why I think the first thing is, very clearly, it should be illegal to build ASI. Like, just like, straight up. Like, this should just not be a thing.
But no one's building ASI. They're building AI that will eventually become ASI,
sure.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. And then the problem is how you do this. And I think the thing is you have to ban precursors to ASI. Because once ASI exists, it's already too late, right? Like the moment an ASI exists that is not perfectly aligned and wise and blah, 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 it's game over. So our number one policy objective must be to never get into this situation in the first place. So we have some suggestions for how to do this. We've written a piece called The Narrow Path. Look it up, narrowpath.co.
Yeah, we'll post it in the notes.
Yeah, where we talk about our principles for what precursors could look like and how banning them could work. We have recently also drafted a bill in the UK for how this could work.
When you say we, what is that?
Control AI, sorry. Still talking about Control AI here. But I love the thing you just said, is that fundamentally this is a speed bump between the future we want. I think this is exactly correct. This is how I think about it as well. There's been a third project that I've been starting to spin up lately, which is Control AI is focused on preventing that speed bump. Like, we need to flatten out that speed bump, otherwise it doesn't work. But then there's another question. All right, let's say we ban ASI and this buys us 20 years or something, right? Because at some point someone's going to figure out how to build AGI on a laptop. At some point someone's going to figure out how to do it. I think it's going to take a couple decades, but someone's going to figure out how to do it. And so, or some rogue terrorist somewhere will build AGI or something. So I think a maximum we can buy 20 years or something. Okay, if we have 20 years,
oh shit, look
how
at
do we
them
get to a good point? Because I think we all have this feeling in our heart that it doesn't feel like the world is on track. And what I mean by that is, I don't feel like we have the expectation that next year is definitely going to be better than this year. People don't have this expectation. What would it mean to put the world on track? We're every year, we're next year is going to be better. And we're confident that next year is going to be better. And this is the thing I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've been thinking a lot about what would it mean to build a humanist future? A future for humans in life, whether it's pastoral and puppies or something totally different, right? I'm not committing to any specific utopia. What I'm committing to is I think there needs to be a process. There needs to be a process of how do we make iterative improvements? How do we get better at morals? How do we get better at values? How do we build better institutions? How do we coordinate as a species? And I think this is something that really...
I agree. And I don't think there's a direct one thing now, but the whole purpose of this platform is to change the hearts and minds and the initial conditions of the future so that the next cycle, whether it's a month from now, 6 months from now, or 2 years from now, the conditions have changed such that we have better options. And that's the goal of my work. So one of the problems, I think, with hearing about climate change and geopolitics and all the issues we discuss, including now
can we get
AI
a different
and
daggone
ASI,
army?
Is hearing the story, at least on the surface, gives people an ill feeling, but also a lack of agency, that there's nothing that they can do. So for those who are following and tracking what you're saying today, Connor, how can they start engaging and taking impactful action on these issues in their own lives or in their political spheres?
There's two big things that I think are the most important things that can be done right now. The first is kind of the Control AI kind of like policy side of things. So you can go to the Control AI website right now, go to Take Action, and you can send a letter to your representative right now. If you're in the UK and the US, it gets auto-filled. It's exactly what you need to do. Minimum thing you can do. Tell your representative, I care about this issue. If you want to do more, fantastic. We are following what we call the Direct Institutional Plan, or the DIP. Also on our website, you can give it a read. The plan is very simple. We write down the policies that need to be passed to prevent this problem, and then we go to every policymaker in the world and in good faith make the case. We inform them, we educate them, and to do this, especially internationally, we need people. We need people from all across the world, normal people who put a couple hours of work a week, who just are willing to phone their senator, talk to their friends, do stuff like this. Also, in particular, if anyone from Hawaii is listening, it's the only state we currently have not had someone send a letter to their senator yet. So if you're in Hawaii, please, we need your help.
We have a lot of listeners in Hawaii. Let me just ask a subset of that, which could be an awkward question. But what if every citizen in the world outside of the 330 million people in the US were 100% on board with regulating AI and making it illegal to build an ASI? Would that matter, since most of the tier 1 plays are in the USA?
Absolutely. This would matter immensely. I think there is a lot of bravado about like, oh, the US can do whatever it wants, doesn't care about other people. This is not true. Obviously, other countries can put pressure upon the US, both soft and hard power-wise. Obviously, like, you know, there are trade relations and there's culture relations. There's friends, there's family, there's culture, there's wanting to be the good guy. You know, it really does matter. Like, people all across the world, all countries, like, sure, you know, obviously if, you know, President Trump would like to have a chat about this, that would be great. But also, other people in other countries, it matters.
Presumably China has some tier 1 AI plays underway.
Close, at least.
Okay.
This is the big issue, right? Like, fundamentally, we need a world where we have international agreement between China and the US. There's no way around this.
So I care about the natural world and the other species that are on the planet and climate change and the oceans and all that. And 20 years of researching that made me realize that we have to deal with our entire economic system issue first. And then I am starting to come to terms with we have to deal with AI first. But underpinning all those things is governance. I think governance is the single issue in the world that will allow us to navigate the narrow path on many of these issues. Your thoughts on that?
I think this is definitely correct. I think we have seen a lot of loss in state capacity in many places in the world, especially in the US. It's become very hard to pass legislation, to have even just rational and like calm debates about controversial topics, especially on social media, is like almost impossible these days. I think these are things that make this problem much harder. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, I'm sorry to complain about social media again, right? But like, imagine if the 1960s and Soviets came to Washington, D.C., put up a radio tower and started broadcasting propaganda. What would happen?
Hell would break loose.
Like, are you kidding me? We would have never allowed the Soviets to do this. But now, everyone goes on social media, TikTok, whatever, and gets directly blasted, you know, with like propaganda, you know, things, you know, maximizing outrage, etc. So this does make it a lot harder to have good governance, especially global governance. And there are real tensions here. Like, I want to acknowledge it. Like, the rivalry between the US and China is very real and it's very serious. And I'm not trying to say people here are being irrational or stupid. Like, there's some shit. Like, I get it, right? Like, this is hard. I remember fondly, once I spoke in the House of Lords here in the UK, and I talked about AI risk, and someone in the audience asked the obvious question, but what about China? You know, China will never agree to this. They will never disarm. It's never going to happen. And then this old, like, Scottish Lord Desmond Brown, who's a good friend, basically said, what the hell are you talking about? We did the same thing with nukes with the Soviets. It's diplomacy. Yes, it's hard. Obviously, it's hard, but like it has to be done. Like, what are you talking about? It was a great moment. I wish it would have caught on camera. It was such a wonderful moment. I think it is very important to acknowledge that the odds are stacked against us. Like, the odds were never in our favor here. Like, what we're trying to do to build a good future for our children, for our grandchildren, for our grand-grandchildren, indefinitely into the future with powerful technology, well, it's not something that's been done before. And trivial, like obviously, technology hasn't existed before. It's not something that's been done before. This is something totally new. It's something extremely hard. It's something extremely ambitious. But damn it, it's worth trying. Like, damn it, it's worth giving it everything we can to try to actually build a future. Because we can. There's no physical reason why this can't work. We can build governance. We didn't nuke ourselves to death, right? Like, we actually managed to get through the Cold War without nuking ourselves. Except dropping that one bomb in South Carolina accidentally, but that was an accident.
You're right. It is physical and technologically possible. It's just that we have the perfect monkey trap has been developed where we're grabbing hold of the banana and not willing to let go because of our curious George social primate brain algorithm nature that we described earlier, and that's the issue.
I think there's a very important thing here also, which is one of the core reasons why I have not given up. And when I say I think it's not over, I do really mean this. I don't just say this, content. Like, I do really believe. One of the core things is that people really don't want this. Like, we've done polls with UK, US, we've talked to the general population everywhere, and people hate AI. They're scared of it. If you tell them, hey, there's some guys in San Francisco building things that are smarter than humans, they don't really know how to control. How do you feel about that? The answer is universally bad. Like, what? How is this legal? Are you kidding me? Currently, there's more regulation in the UK. I got this checked by a lawyer. There's currently more legislation in the UK. There's less legislation on building powerful super intelligent systems that might kill everybody than there is on selling a sandwich. So this is a thing that people do care about. And once you inform them of this, like, obviously this can't be legal. Like, obviously this should be highly regulated. Like, we just need to actually do it.
Yeah, I think the education curve is starting to catch up. Because to be honest, a year ago, I was a babe in the woods on these issues, and even 3 months ago. So personally, I've become a lot more aware of these things, and when I talk to people like Zach Stein and yourself, even more so. I would love to have you back. If you have a few more minutes, could I ask you questions that I ask all my first-time guests? Just taking off your AI hat for the moment, which for you is probably difficult to do. You're aware of some of the issues we face on the planet. Do you have personal advice to the viewers of this program in their own lives? Like, just recommendations for behaviors, coping or engaging or whatever you think.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to not overdo it and to not do nothing. This would be my first piece of advice.
Okay.
I think it's a very, very good thing if you pick some amount of time per week. It can be an hour, it can be half an hour, it can be 5 hours, whatever, where you try your best, in good faith, to think about the problem, think about how you would solve it, reach out to other people, read more about it, and then don't really do more than that.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, like, I think, and I not just say this to protect your soft heart or something. I truly think long-term, stable investment is way more useful than these burning yourself out and getting super depressed and working overtime. I think this is super useless. I would much rather work with someone who gives 100% for 2 hours per week than someone who burns out 80 hours a week and is useless after 3 months. So if you want to do something, this is my recommendation.
Here. And you said that was one piece of advice. Do you have others?
There's always many advice. Another important thing is to not forget to have fun. You should still do things. There's a thing that some people do, including myself in the past sometimes, where you feel guilty for doing things that are fun because you know bad things are happening. And sure, we can argue about Catholic guilt. Like, I was raised Catholic, you know, until
Me too.
so like I know how this is. But like, this is just not a productive way to be a human. Like, both like burnout wise, like you won't handle it, and two, if you give up on this, then we've kind of already lost what we're fighting for. Like, some people are like, oh, I won't have kids because of AI, and I just like so strongly disagree. If we don't have kids, if we don't love our kids, if we don't do things that are fun, if we don't eat good food, then we've already lost. We've already lost what we're fighting for, and then like, what's the point? So, still have fun.
So speaking of kids, how would you change your advice for young humans, kind of 15 to 25, who are watching this program and learning about this stuff? Do you have advice for young humans?
Depends on the exact young human. Mostly is try many things. You have a lot of time, you have a lot of energy. So you should try many things, you should read many things, you should talk to a lot of people, you should make a lot of mistakes. People will forgive you for your mistakes. This is a great, benefit that you have for being young. It is okay for you to do something embarrassing or stupid. People will forgive you. We've all done stupid things when we were young. You should use this privilege, by trying to, like...
Too close.
I find it very
Are you
endearing
shitting me?
when I
78
get,
is too close?
sending me these emails with all their theories and like stuff they want to do,
What?
and I'm like, man, kid, none of this makes any sense. But like, I'm really glad you're trying. Like, it's like, like I say this genuinely, right? Like, I'm not trying to be facetious,
Yeah.
right? Like,
No, you're a good dude. You embody the zeitgeist of this program. I'm so glad that we were introduced. A question I ask all my guests, personal question: what do you care most about in the world, Connor?
I think the true answer is just want everyone to be okay. Like, not even like utilitarian, maximize happiness. I'm just like, I just want everyone to be okay. I want everyone just having a good time, spend time with their family, their friends. If you want to do some crazy stuff, that's fun. That's also fine. But I just want everyone to be okay.
Thank you for that answer. If you
Yikes.
had a magic wand,
Damn it.
risk or recourse to your reputation or status or safety, what is one thing you would do? And I could guess at what you might say. What's one thing you would do to improve human and planetary futures?
Well, I mean, depends on the limit of the magic wand, obviously, but I mean, I think a big one would be I would summon the textbook from the future that has the solutions to AI alignment and coordination and all of moral philosophy
What's
all
going
written
on
down
over
in
here?
a nice explain like I'm 5 format that I can understand. That might be a pretty good start.
Who's
Some version
poning
of
who?
time
Oh,
travel.
they're poning us. All right.
So, if you were to come back on this program in 6 to 9 months or something like
Oh.
that,
Shit.
what is one topic that you have expertise and are passionate about that is highly relevant to human futures that you'd be willing to take a deep dive on?
Oh, we should definitely talk about humanism,
I'm getting
values,
fucked.
coordination. Like, how do we build institutions? What are human values? How do we build a good future? Stuff like
Whoops.
this. As that project I talked about earlier
Whoops.
that I'm starting. Also, for the people interested
Yeah,
in
fucking
potentially
pissed.
putting a couple hours of volunteer work into doing something, it's called Torchbearer. It's a brand new project. It's not super public yet, but if you want to put a couple hours into trying to do something for the world, building a humanist future, reach out.
This has been great. Do you have any closing comments or thoughts for our viewers?
I would just say, as I've said many times before, it is not over. I think the cynicism of our age, this belief that things can't be changed is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's often a much bigger hurdle than many other things. There's a thing where I've talked to many incredibly smart people, geniuses, super, super smart, talk to super rich people, super powerful people, and one thing they all have in common is they all feel like they can't do anything. They all feel like they're powerless. Everyone feels like they're powerless, and this can't be true. We can't all be powerless. And we were talking about those, talking earlier, when we started our campaign to control AI, briefing politicians and getting them to sign, onto our campaign, we were told it's impossible. No one will do anything, blah, blah, blah. And this just wasn't true. We have 35 supporters who have supported our campaign against extinction risk from AI, parliamentarians, real elected officials, right? This is not a simple thing, right? And so one thing is just so much of the narrative that nothing can be done, AI must be built, blah, 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 is a complete self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not true. This is not an external force coming from outer space onto Earth. It's being done by humans today. It's like the people who say, oh, we can't do anything, we can't stop the AI race, are the ones building it right in front of you with their own hands. Like, we can do things. Doesn't mean it's easy. Don't take me as someone who's saying, like, oh, this is going to be easy, everything's going to turn out fine. We do need to do something. But we can do it. So there's one thing to take away from it. We can do it, just need to actually do it.
Thank you very much for your time today and your very important work and your passion about these important issues. To be continued, my friend.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed or learned from this episode of The Great Simplification, please follow us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit thegreatsimplification.com for references and show notes from today's conversation. And to connect with fellow listeners of this podcast, check out our Discord channel. This show is hosted by me, Nate Higgins, edited by No Troublemakers Media, and produced by Misty Stinnett, Leslie Batlutz, Brady Hyen, and Lizzie Sirianni.
See ya, bitch. What? What? There we go. I was about to say, what in the hell? Not the arty strike. Oh. No! Not the H-bar! God darn it! God dang it! Yeah, we need some AA, bruh. Wipe my whole shit out, bruh. Damn! And then a tank got me, man! Oh, and the plane is busy. Oh, you hate to see it. Alright, let's see, what can we do then? Maybe we'll stick AA back here. Oh, one guy already died. Oh, there's the plane. Damn. And he just crashed. Well, we were a little late to the party. Deserve that. Damn. Oh, now I wish I had the guys ready. Oh well, it's not like I'm really hurting for points. Ah! Match is almost over though. It's basically already over. Alright, is that an enemy plane? No. Uh-oh. Oh, he's coming back around. Damn, missed him. And we're dead. Oh, I didn't see him.